I think it's very important that tradition stays, and tradition has a huge part of all this. But there's also points where you look at tradition and go, is that still fit for purpose today? Is that still the right thing to do?
Tradition still matters in royal life, but the real question now is whether every old custom still works in today's brutal spotlight. That debate sits right at the centre of this palace storm, because the move now being linked to Prince William is being framed as one of the hardest internal resets the monarchy has seen in years. On March 25th, 2026, William, acting with strengthened authority around the king, is said to have backed a firm decree cutting Queen Camilla's biological family, including Tom Parker Bowles, Laura Lopes, and their children, out of the inner ceremonial circle of Windsor and future top-level royal proceedings. This was not painted as a minor family disagreement. It was described as a hard, structural decision meant to separate Camilla's private family life from the public face of the crown once and for all. The main argument behind this reported move is all about the royal brand. For years, watchers have pointed to the growing visibility of the Parker Bowles family at major royal moments, from the 2023 coronation to the 2024 Sandringham Christmas Walk, and many felt the line between private relatives and true royal figures was starting to blur in a dangerous way. In palace terms, that kind of confusion is no small thing. William's reported position is blunt and sharp. The Parker Bowles family hold no royal titles, carry no constitutional duty, and do not bear responsibility for protecting the monarchy in times of crisis. So, from his point of view, their repeated visibility in royal spaces creates a false impression that they hold some kind of official standing. He is said to believe the public has slowly started giving them unofficial status by association, and that kind of image drift can weaken the crown over time. That is why this alleged line in the sand sounds so ruthless. William's message in this version of events is that the Parker Bowles family are guests, not working members, and that distinction must now be enforced clearly and without confusion. In a slimmed-down monarchy, there is no room for royal-adjacent figures hanging around the edges while quietly soaking up prestige. That grey area, according to this account, is now over. Princess Anne is also being described as a major force behind this harder palace stance. Anne has always been seen as one of the strictest defenders of duty, protocol, and discipline, and insiders claim she has grown increasingly frustrated with what she sees as Camilla trying to ease her family into royal life through visibility, access, and repeated appearances. For Anne, the issue is not warmth or family affection. It is structure, clarity, and control. This situation is unusual for the House of Windsor because the monarch shares the throne with a consort who has children from a previous marriage. That alone created a new kind of problem the institution was never fully designed to handle. The concern, as this story tells it, is that non-royal influence may have slipped too close to the centre without the same standards, training, and restrictions expected of those who officially represent the monarchy. Anne is said to have helped William shape these exclusions into something closer to formal policy, so the Parker Bowles name is never mistaken for part of the Windsor line. The tension reportedly exploded when William directly challenged Camilla's judgment behind closed doors. He is said to have accused her of placing personal family ambition too close to the crown and of slowly normalizing her children and grandchildren within royal settings to raise their social standing under palace protection. That accusation hits hard because it suggests this was not accidental or harmless, but part of a steady drift toward recognition. William's alleged warning was simple but brutal. If a member of the Parker Bowles family were caught in scandal tomorrow or linked to some embarrassing headline, why should the House of Windsor take the hit in public opinion for people it does not control? That question reflects the whole fear behind this reported crackdown: guilt by association. In modern royal life, image damage can spread fast, and William is being portrayed here as someone determined to cut risk before it explodes. When Camilla reportedly pushed back and accused William of acting like a royal dictator, he is said to have stayed cold and unmoved. In this version, he made clear that while she may be queen consort, her children remain outsiders to the institution itself. Any effort to make their presence look official was, in his eyes, a push for public status, and he had no intention of allowing that to continue. To show the move was real, the reported changes went beyond words and straight into palace logistics. Camilla's children and grandchildren would no longer be transported in royal state limousines and would instead arrive like standard private guests using their own travel arrangements. That matters because royal optics are everything. Once the cars, entrances, and visual treatment change, the public message changes too. The same goes for positioning at events. According to this account, special guest zones would be used for the Parker Bowles family, keeping them away from senior working royals and out of photographs that might imply institutional importance. That is a sharp downgrade in symbolism, and symbolism is a huge deal in monarchy. In simple terms, the message would be loud and clear. These are private relatives, not public royal figures. The first signs of this split were reportedly seen back in December 2025, when William pushed for their absence from the Sandringham Christmas walk, especially after their more visible appearance the year before. That earlier move is now being framed as the test run for the much wider ban that followed. Once that door started closing, insiders say it was obvious the palace was moving toward a much stricter line. What makes this even more damaging for Camilla is the reported unity behind William. Catherine, Princess Anne, Edward, and Sophie are all said to support the tougher approach, believing the monarchy must be based on duty, restraint, and clear hierarchy, not blurred family access. In their eyes, this is not cruelty, but clean up. They reportedly see it as necessary protection for the future. That united front gives William's stance even more power. He is not being painted here as acting alone or out of emotion, but as the leader of a clear Windsor bloc preparing for the next era. The old setup allowed private relatives to hover near the institution like semi-official figures. The new reported model kills that grey zone completely. No shared spotlight, no royal transport, no close staging, no confusion. The second phase of this reported reform goes even further by focusing on scandal prevention. William and Anne are said to believe the biggest danger to a modern monarchy is being tied to people whose public behaviour, business interests, and social lives the palace cannot monitor. Unlike working royals, Camilla's family move in private circles, handle private ventures, and make private choices. That means the Crown could end up paying the price for situations it never approved. That is where the so-called zero-link policy comes in. Under this alleged approach, members of the Parker Bowles family would not be allowed to use royal locations as private social media backdrops or refer to their proximity to the king in commercial settings. Any attempt to trade on that connection would be treated seriously. The whole point is to stop borrowed royal glamour from becoming a quiet source of personal status or influence. Inside the palace, this reportedly hit Camilla hard. She is said to feel that William is not just protecting the crown, but steadily erasing her family's place from royal history. The loss of royal transport, the tighter event rules, and the visible distancing are all seen by her as deliberate humiliation. To her, it is a message that despite her crown, her own family will never be allowed near the centre of the Windsor future. King Charles, meanwhile, is being portrayed as caught in an ugly and painful middle ground. He has loyalty to his wife, but he also understands the hard logic behind William's argument. His health struggles have only made that balance harder to manage, and this story casts William as the enforcer Charles was often too soft to be. With Anne, Catherine, Edward, and Sophie all forming a strong wall around the future king, Camilla's influence appears weaker than before. That is why this whole episode is being framed as more than a family clash. It is being treated as a major image reset before the next transfer of royal power. The message to the Parker Bowles family is that the days of moving close to the sovereign and sharing in palace prestige are over. William is shaping a monarchy that is leaner, tougher, and far stricter about who gets near the crown. As the media reacts to the fallout from these March 25th edicts, the bigger symbolism becomes impossible to ignore. This is not only about transport, guest zones, or event access. It is being framed as the closing of one chapter and the launch of another, with William's harder style replacing the softer, more blended family optics that marked the Charles era. Across Britain and the Commonwealth, this reported shift is being read as a major reassertion of royal authority, with the international press interpreting William's iron approach as a historic signal that the years of blended family experimentation under King Charles III are officially over. The public reaction in Britain did not land in just one direction at all. It came as a strange mix of shock, approval, and deep relief, especially from old-school royal watchers who felt a line had been crossed long ago. For a lot of traditionalists, seeing Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes at the 2023 coronation and then at later royal gatherings felt like the palace was letting private family drift way too close to state business. People had grown more respectful of Camilla because of her steady loyalty to Charles. Yes, but there was still a quiet discomfort over her non-royal children becoming too normal a sight around official royal life. That is why William's reported move to strip them of royal transport and push them into ordinary guest status has been described by some commentators as an optics masterstroke. By making them arrive like regular invitees instead of royal insiders, he is said to have restored the visual hierarchy that monarchy runs on. The symbolism matters because it tells the public that royal resources are for those carrying royal duty, not for relatives standing near the glow of the crown. This so-called William doctrine is being framed as part of a tougher update for a monarchy trying to survive under constant scrutiny, online dissection, and rising Republican pressure. Analysts in places like Washington and Canberra are said to view this as William future-proofing the institution by cutting away a weak flank before it turns into a bigger mess. In a digital age where every photo, post, tag, and business tie gets picked apart, the palace cannot afford blurred roles and half-official figures hanging around the edges. That message seems to be landing, especially with younger people who care more about transparency, fairness, and earned status than old social privilege. The idea is brutally simple. Being the Queen's child does not automatically earn you a place at the table of the British state. That line has a cold edge to it, but it also fits the harder image William is building around himself as a future king who values duty over comfort and structure over sentiment. Behind palace walls, though, the emotional cost of this has reportedly hit Queen Camilla hard. Her alleged outbursts about William being a royal dictator have spilled into London social circles and painted a picture of a queen consort who feels her personal legacy is being ripped apart while she is still sitting beside the throne. But for all that frustration, her complaints do not appear to have gained much ground with the working royals, and that has made her position look even weaker. The most painful blow may be Princess Anne's quiet support for William. Anne has long stood for the idea that monarchy is a job, not some soft family club, and that gives William the moral cover Camilla struggles to break. With Anne backing him, this no longer looks like a petty personal feud. It gets framed instead as a matter of institutional survival, palace order, and long-term state protection. That is where the scandal prevention measures move into something bigger, a wider code of conduct for extended family members who might otherwise lean on palace connections. In this version of events, the Parker Bowles family are not only being pushed back physically, but also separated from the Windsor brand socially and publicly. Their names, presence, and connections are being boxed in, so there is no confusion about where they stand, and that marks the fading light of the Camilla era at the exact moment her own royal victory once looked strongest. William's reported goal is clear and sharp. Camilla's rise to queen must not become a permanent doorway for her family to grow roots inside the monarchy. He is said to be cutting off the chance of the Parker Bowles name turning into some unofficial second branch of the House of Windsor. In that sense, this is less about one bad week at the palace and more about pruning the tree back to its core before the next reign begins. As of March 25th, 2026, the balance of power inside the palace is being described as changed for good. Charles may still be the reigning monarch, but internally, the centre of gravity is said to have shifted toward his heir. With Catherine's huge popularity and Anne's iron discipline behind him, William now looks like the real architect of the monarchy's future, and Forest Lodge is being talked about like the command centre of what comes next. For the Parker Bowles family, the message is brutal. Windsor's doors have not just been shut, they have been locked, and the rules have been rewritten. The picture being painted is of the biggest internal restructuring in generations, with William proving that he is not his father at all. He is shown here as someone who puts the institution over the individual, the crown over the clan, and the future over the past. In that framing, the blended monarchy is done, and a leaner, stricter House of Windsor is rising in its place. From there, the story moves into an even deeper phase, the full consolidation of what some are calling the Wales regency. This is no longer just about guest lists or car assignments. It has become a larger redefinition of what royal even means in the modern age, with William, strongly backed by Anne, presented as carrying out a bloodless palace power shift against the looser extended family model Charles had allowed to grow. The most lasting part of that shift is the claim that these new boundaries are being made permanent, not temporary. Reports tied to the Lord Chamberlain's office suggest that guest zone protocols are being folded into standing palace practice, meaning the exclusion of Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes would no longer depend on mood, argument, or changing family tensions. It would become part of the basic internal order of Windsor life. That is why Camilla's position in this story feels so stark. She is still Queen Consort, but her power to elevate her own family is said to be fading into smoke. The rooms may still be grand, the title may still be glittering, but the leverage is gone. Her grandchildren, once seen by some as orbiting a semi-royal future, are now being cast as ordinary private citizens with no special path inward at all. For the core Windsors, Catherine, Anne, Edward and Sophie, this is presented almost like a psychological victory after years of sacrifice. They gave up privacy, freedom, and comfort for royal duty, and they reportedly saw the palace softening of the 2020s as an insult to the whole idea of service. Anne especially is said to view William's March 25th move as the final settlement because she has always believed monarchy survives only by remaining clearly separate, restrained, and set apart from normal family life. That is also why forcing the Parker Bowles family into ordinary guest optics matters so much in this script. William is shown as restoring that royal otherness Anne has defended for decades. The message is simple. The crown cannot be inherited through marriage, and its prestige cannot be casually shared just because someone lives near it or dines close to it. That wall, once softened, is now being rebuilt with steel. The media strategy around this has reportedly become just as ruthless as the physical distancing. Palace Communications, now said to be reporting more directly to William on long-term branding, are described as steadily unlinking the Queen's family from official digital records, website framing, and palace social media storytelling. Their appearances are being reduced to small private notes instead of public royal imagery. It is a digital cleanup to match the physical one, and William is presented as fully aware that history gets written in real time online. In this telling, the goal is obvious. Make sure that decades from now, the Parker Bowles name reads like a side note, not a royal branch. Charles, meanwhile, is described as the saddest figure in all this. He loves his wife, and he cares for her grandchildren, but he is also said to understand that William's harder line may be the only thing standing between the monarchy and more public drift, confusion and Republican momentum. Charles always leaned toward blending worlds, but William moves with single focus force, and that difference now defines the whole palace mood. That same hard line sends a warning far beyond Camilla's side of the family. The signal to Prince Harry and Meghan, even without naming them directly, is impossible to miss. If even the Queen's own children can be pushed out of the royal circle and stripped of palace privilege, then no one who openly breaks with the institution should expect soft treatment later. William is building a fortress, and he is deciding who stands inside the walls. By the end of this whole account, the image left behind is one of a clean and permanent break. The monarchy is shedding the last traces of a blended family model and returning to something leaner, tougher, and more tightly controlled. William is not just limiting access or shifting optics, he is being cast as reconsecrating the crown itself, closing a door on the Camilla chapter with quiet force instead of loud drama. And now, as the world moves from reacting to assessing, this moment is being described as a constitutional landmark rather than a palace scuffle. Historians are already comparing it to other turning points when the monarchy had to choose between personal feeling and cold survival. With Anne's tactical support and broad agreement from the working royals, William is presented as choosing survival with a severity that has shaken the old Buckingham Guard. The March 25th edicts, in that light, do not just change protocol, they lock in a new definition of who truly belongs, ending the old assumption that a sovereign spouse can comfortably fold their private family into the royal machine as a matter of personal comfort, even though King Charles III, a man of deep romantic loyalty, had once hoped to build a blended monarchy that reflected modern society. What William's counterattack has exposed is the hard truth at the centre of this palace drama. A monarchy is not a modern family setup, it is an institution built on hierarchy, distance and control. By stripping Tom Parker Bowles, Laura Lopes and their children of any semi-royal image, William is being framed as restoring the old rule of exclusion with brutal force. The message is clear. In matters of state, closeness to the throne means nothing unless it serves the crown itself. In this version of events, every effort by Camilla to ease her biological family into royal life has now been pulled apart, piece by piece. The result is harsh and impossible to miss. Her family is no longer treated like a soft extension of the monarchy, but like a private side note pushed to the edge of royal history. That is why this moment is being described as more than palace tension. It is being cast as a full reset of royal boundaries. Inside the Parker Bowles circle, the reaction is said to be stunned and deeply hurt. Friends of Tom Parker Bowles reportedly suggest the family feels betrayed after years of standing beside the King and Queen through the difficult transition following Queen Elizabeth II's death. They believed that loyalty mattered, but now they feel they helped steady Camilla's image only to be pushed aside the moment William's power became too strong to resist. William's side, though, is described as totally cold on that point. The message coming through unofficial channels is simple. Support for the king is private, and it does not buy anyone a place in the royal box. That hard tone has become a defining feature of the so-called William Doctrine. It does not centre emotion, and it does not bend for wounded feelings when the institution itself is at stake. Princess Anne's role in this phase is said to be just as sharp, but more technical. She reportedly worked in the lead-up to March 25th to make sure the legal foundation behind these measures could not be quietly undone later. Alongside the Duchy of Cornwall and the Crown Estate, Anne is said to have helped shut down any hidden perks, soft funding, or quiet privileges that might still flow toward the Parker Bowles family through back channels. That is why the so-called Walk of the Commoner is described as only the visible surface of a much deeper shift. Underneath it all, William and Anne are said to have cut off the shadow system that once allowed Camilla to extend royal hospitality to her children with little notice. What followed was a complete social and financial decoupling. The message to Camilla is brutal. She may be queen consort, but she does not run the Windsor brand, and she does not control its future. Publicly, that harder line appears to have helped William rather than hurt him. Reports tied to the evening of March 25th describe a noticeable rise in support for the Prince of Wales as many people responded to the order and clarity he projected during a time of political strain and economic stress. For a lot of the public, a monarchy that looks like a club for the well-connected is a problem, but a monarchy that looks disciplined, duty-bound, and tightly managed still feels defendable. That is why William's move is being framed not just as cold, but as strategic. By removing the confusion around the Parker Bowles family, he is portrayed as making the monarchy easier to justify and easier to protect. In blunt terms, he has sacrificed peace inside his father's household to strengthen the political future of his own reign. That is a ruthless move, but in this account, it is exactly what makes him look strong. The Camilla era, as this version tells it, is now visibly fading. She may still carry out public duties beside the king with her usual composure, but any hope of giving her family a lasting place close to the crown appears crushed. The Parker Bowles family, once seen by some as drifting towards semi-royal status, are now being pushed fully outside the gates of royal relevance. The gate has not only been shut, it has been bolted. That is why William's victory is described as total. He is cast here as the true heir to Queen Elizabeth II's hard discipline, a future king who understands that the crown must remain set apart. In that image, he becomes the man willing to draw a hard line, bruise personal feelings, and still move forward because the survival of the institution matters more than family comfort. So in this telling, March 25th, 2026 becomes the day the blended monarchy died and a stricter state monarchy was reborn. William did not just remove a few step relatives from privileged optics. He restored the hierarchy, cleared the confusion, and closed down what this narrative calls the Parker Bowles experiment for good. The Windsor name stays protected, the structure is restored, and the old, blurred family model is over. As the media moved from shock into deeper analysis, one conclusion began to dominate establishment thinking. This was not just another family clash, but a serious palace power shift. This final chapter focuses on what happened after William's hard-edged mandate and how it changed the balance between the reigning monarch and the heir waiting in the wings. The attempt to pull a non-royal family into the centre of royal state life had, in this account, now been formally declared a failure by the man expected to wear the imperial state crown next. One of the clearest signs of that shift is the silence of King Charles III. According to palace observations, the king has entered a period of reflection, allowing William to act as the moral centre of the monarchy, while Charles remains the legal head of state. That matters because it suggests the living authority inside the palace has already started moving toward the Prince of Wales. William's argument is that closeness to the king is no longer enough. To matter inside the institution, a person must be essential to the work of the crown itself. By removing the Parker Bowles children and grandchildren from royal logistics, ending access to state cars, and limiting them to guest-only zones, William is said to have stripped away the soft power Camilla spent years building around her biological family. The relationship between William and Camilla is also described as permanently changed. Their cold peace has hardened into professional distance, with Camilla still carrying out her public role, but no longer able to shape the family brand in private. William's alliance with Princess Anne has created a tight inner circle that she cannot get around. And that circle now defines Windsor as a guarded institution built on duty, not personal connection through marriage. For the Parker Bowles family, the Walk of the Commoner becomes more than a one-day humiliation. It becomes their new social reality. They are now palace guests in the strictest sense, allowed near it at times, perhaps, but permanently outside its future. That is a brutal downgrade in symbolism, and symbolism in royal life hits like law. The wider message sent to Britain, the Commonwealth, and the international audience is just as strong. At a time when monarchy is constantly questioned, William is being portrayed as offering a leaner, cleaner, and more disciplined institution. By cutting away extended relatives who do not serve the public, he makes the monarchy easier to defend to taxpayers and less exposed to future reputational damage. That is why the legacy of this day is being framed as the moment William stopped looking like only an heir and started looking like an architect. He did not slightly adjust his father's blended approach. He tore it down and replaced it with a fortress Windsor model, tighter, colder, more controlled, and far less willing to blur the line between private family and public crown. So as the world looks ahead to the eventual reign of King William V, the picture forming is of a monarch who sees the crown as a lonely burden, not a shared family spotlight. The Camilla chapter may continue on paper, but in spirit, this telling says it is already over. The future of Windsor now sits firmly with William and Catherine, strengthened by Anne's old-school iron and protected by a system that no longer leaves room for borrowed status or blurred loyalties. The Parker Bowles family, in the end, returned to the background of British high society, connected, comfortable, and known, perhaps, but no longer wrapped in royal sunlight. The gates of Windsor have closed, and the House of Windsor now stands in this narrative as tighter, harder, and more unified for the challenges of the 21st century. Comment below with your take on this royal shake-up, and subscribe for more dramatic royal updates and deep dive coverage.